Hello. I would like to share a book with you called Just Harriet. It's about a young gal who's just finished third grade and how she spends her summer. Not as she had planned, that's for sure. I'm going to read to you just the first chapter. Things you should know. My name is Harriet Wormer. There are some things you should know about me before I tell you everything else. Let's start with the worst things first. Sometimes I lie. I don't know why I lie, and it's usually about dumb things that people figure out right away or really soon. It's embarrassing if you want to know the truth about lying. I have boatloads of nightmares, really bad ones, so bad they're called night terrors. Trust me, they're awful. Usually they're about falling. I hate falling. Okay, fine. This last one I wasn't going to admit, even to you, but then I figured I might as well be honest for a change. Sometimes when I'm having a nightmare terror, I pee my bed. That last one is the one that most kids like to tease me about when they find out. I don't tell people about it usually. It's one of those things that's on a need-to-know basis, and as far as I'm concerned, it's not something anyone needs to know. But it's weird how people find stuff out anyway. Oh, that leads me to one last thing. Sometimes when I get mad or embarrassed, like if I get caught telling a lie or when someone finds out about me peeing in my bed, I get a little, well, Mom calls it out of hand. On the last day of third grade, which happened not very long ago, I guess I got out of hand. But it wasn't my fault, not to start with anyway. Maybe you should know just one more thing about me. Mom really did name me after Harriet the Spy, that character from a book. It was her favorite book when she was a kid, and she'd always known that when she grew up, if she'd had a daughter, she'd name her daughter Harriet. But whenever anyone says to me, "Hey, your name's Harriet, like Harriet the Spy," I stop them right there and say, "No, it's just Harriet." Okay, just Harriet, the grown-ups always say. It's like they've all read the same handbook called Dumb Grown-Up Jokes. That's why sometimes the kids call me just Harriet, because they heard our teacher, Mrs. Robinson, make that joke on the first day of third grade, and it stuck. Grown-ups don't seem to get that. A thing like a nickname can follow a person for a long time. I don't understand. Weren't grown-up kids before they were grown-ups? Do they all get, like, grown-up amnesia or something? When I grow up, I'm not going to forget how icky and uncomfortable and infuriating it can be to be a kid. That's a promise. Anyway, like I was telling you, sometimes I lie, and sometimes I pee my bed, and sometimes I have nightmares. But I'll bet there are some things about you that you're not so fond of. My Nanu likes to say, everyone's got something. Nanu is pretty smart. She's my dad's mom, and she lives on an island. But I'll tell you more about her later. First, I want to tell you about the thing that happened on the last day of third grade. It didn't actually have much to do with school at all. Dad picked me up, and that was the first thing that was weird. Almost always, Mom is the one to take me to school and pick me up after, because she can do her job from home and Dad has to travel a lot. I don't really love it when I'm expecting things to go one way, but instead something else happens. If it were up to me, things wouldn't be changing all the time. So even though I was glad to see Dad, I had been expecting to see Mom. And maybe that started my rotten mood right there. So yeah, Dad picked me up when school was over. He didn't even want to stop for a special last day of school drink as my favorite coffee shop, Doug's Drive-Thru Delight. But it's a last day of school tradition, I told him. Every year since kindergarten, Mom has taken me to Doug's on that last day of school, and we get a special drink. Not this time, Dad said. Mom's at the doctor, and we need to go pick her up. Mom had been having lots of doctor's appointments because of the pregnancy. I hadn't particularly wanted a little brother, but no one asked me. Because if they had, I'd have told them that 3 is the perfect number for a family. 3 is my favorite number. At first, I ignored all the talk about the baby and the baby stuff they were buying and piling up in Mom's office. But Mom's belly kept getting bigger and bigger, and that was harder to ignore. And now, apparently, Marson Wormer was due to be born on August 11th. They did ask me about the name, but they didn't listen to my opinion. There was still time, though, to change their minds. We can go through the drive-through. On the way to the doctor's, I said, please, it's a tradition. It's not on the way, Dad said. We were in the car, but we were still in the school parking lot, stuck in a long line waiting to get out. You guys said the baby wouldn't change anything, and now it's changing the last day of school tradition, I said. Dad sighed. It was a sigh that meant that he was going to change his mind, and I was right. He drove to Doug's drive-through delight. I got a strawberry vanilla smoothie with extra whipped cream, and then we drove to the doctor's office. Mom's baby doctor's office was in the same building as my pediatrician's. Dad let me wait in the courtyard by the koi pond while he went inside. He could see me the whole time through the window next to the door. I saw Mom waiting for us in the reception area, and she waved at me. I waved back. I was surprised when she didn't stand up. It turned out she was sitting in a wheelchair. Dad pushed her to the door. For a second, I couldn't see them, and then the door opened, and out they came. Hey, baby, Mom said. She looked tired. She had dark marks under her eyes, and her hair was sort of like a bun, but also sort of in a ponytail. You get a smoothie? Last day of school tradition, Dad said. I gulped a big slurp of the smoothie. It got stuck for a moment in my throat when I got nervous that maybe Mom would tell Dad that there was no last day of school smoothie tradition. But even though she raised her eyebrows, she didn't say anything about the lie. We walked together back to the car. Well, Mom didn't walk. She rolled. After Dad helped Mom get into the front seat, he went around to the back of the car and put the wheelchair into the trunk. I didn't like knowing that it was back there coming home with us to our house. I didn't ask about why Mom was in a wheelchair, but it wasn't because I didn't care. It's because I already knew that it wasn't good, whatever the reason was. I slurped furiously on the smoothie, but it didn't taste very good anymore.